Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Twitch stream and I think YouTube stream here on Build with Redis. Let me just wait for a couple of minutes. Let me also do an announcement quickly. Play the music, okay? Hello. Once again, people who are joining just now, welcome. Normally don't do this. Also, let me just use the background music. I like it, but it's too loud. I think this is perfect. Okay, so normally we don't do this, but I just fell in love with Redis Cloud. I was trying it over this whole hackathon actually. So I started yesterday. I had been doing it today. And I was like, wait, this is so awesome. It is perfect to let you all know how to get started with Redis and how you can integrate it in your own project. So if you have already built a project and you are in need of a database, I think Redis Cloud is a perfect contender. Hi, Aaron. Okay, and people, MERN stack developers specifically, uh, you have worked with MongoDB, and if you don't have any space left on MongoDB right now, switch over to Redis again. Okay, so what are we going to do? I am going to quickly show you something, and let me see if I can take it out from here and put it here. Okay, let that load. Look, this is what we are going to build. Okay, so by the end of this session, which should be approximately 1 hour, 1 hour 15 minutes or something, we should have this project. Okay, wait, I think my internet is being a bit glitchy. Should be back right now. Yep. Okay. So this is one of the projects that we will build. We'll have something like a username table, you can say. We'll have a tiny tails table and you can see all the tiny tails that come here. Now I'm going to delete the database that I have first, and then we are going to go over everything step by step. Okay. So step one is supposed to be how do you get started with Redis, right? So let me quickly share some links here in chat. Meanwhile, if you are already aware, or if you're not aware, let's say, uh, we have partnered with Redis to basically give you some free credits. Okay, the credits should I think you already have the uh, credits code, if I may say that. And if you don't have the coupon code, let me share that quickly in the chat here. Okay, so I have shared the Redis coupon code. Okay, so you can find that, number one. Number two is how to get started. Now, that is very easy. We already have this link here. Okay, so a link should be available in chat. Once you open that link, it should take you to a free sign up page. Now, for me, I am not sure where it would take me. So let me actually just and open it. Okay. So once you open that page, okay, you should reach somewhere here. All you have to do, and they specifically say no credit card required. Okay. So starting with Redis is free. All you have to do is just enter your first name, last name, email, company, phone number, country, a password. So that is one way, the easiest way. And I would say go for this particular way, sign up with Google. Okay, please do sign up with Google. And the reason is, like, while I was testing this, I realized that Redis has an app called as Redis Insight. And on Redis Insight, you can see basically inside your database, okay, the values, the data inside the database. And that data, like for logging into Redis Insights, you only have two options. You have sign in with Google and sign in with GitHub. It does not give you the option of logging in with username and password, or email and password, as I may say, which is, I mean, I'm sure they are working on it. But if since that is not available right now, I would say sign up with Google. Okay. So please, please, please sign up with Google. Once you sign up with Google, you would reach a page which would be something like what I have. You can go onto the database, and you should have an option to create a new database. Okay. So please create a new database. Done. Nice. Perfect. So once you have created a database, you can open it, and the metrics should basically say nothing there, right? So I am going to wait for a couple of seconds, let people reach there, and then we are going to move ahead. So let's wait for folks who have not reached there. Okay, too much silence. My bad. Uh, okay. I think there should be enough time to just click on sign in with slash sign up with Google. So once you have signed up with Google, you will reach all databases. And once you have reached all databases, or basically go to the databases, uh, add an option of create database. Okay, there should be an option of create database or add new database, something very similar to what I'm saying. And once you create something, so I have created a database which is called MLH free DB. Let me increase the font size. So once you have done that, next step would be to download Redis Insight. Okay? Download the Redis Insight, check for your own machine. So I have it downloaded already, but you can just simply download it by choosing your operating system and providing your email. Okay. So once you do those two things, click on download it, install it. Again, as I said, it is really, really smooth uh, GUI that I have ever seen. Uh, so please, if someone could ping on the chat, I would be very happy to know that you all have downloaded the Redis Insight GUI tool. Okay. So again, I'm going to wait here. And meanwhile, folks who have been coming to my GHW sessions, you know how much I love Replit. Okay. So this is the third thing. I know lots of things to download here, right? But thank God for Replit. You don't have to download it. You just have to create an account on Replit. And even on Replit, you have the option of sign up with Google and or sign up with GitHub. Okay, choose anyone. I like the Google aspect definitely there. So once you're done with that, and once you have signed up with Google on Replit, once you have downloaded Redis Insight, even in that, you have the option of connect to Redis cloud. Okay, there should be an option of connect to Redis cloud. Let me see if I can. Okay, I can't seem to find the option of, oops, give me a second. Hmm. I can't seem to find the option of logging out from Redis Insight. Well, which is sad. Let me also see if I can put it up here. I am going to kind of stop sharing for a second. Please ignore me. And meanwhile, please download Redis Insight, create an account on Replit. Okay. Perfect. I'm back. I basically did not want to get nuked by showing everything on my desktop, definitely. But now I think we are there. So once you have downloaded and once you basically have the option of connecting, okay, you have the option of connecting Redis cloud. Okay, please hear me out. There is an option in big letters which says connect to Redis cloud. You click on it, it gives you a pop-up where it says sign up with Google, or and there's also a condition, terms and conditions, accept terms and conditions checkbox. So of course go for that. You click on sign up with Google, it will take you to browser. Since you already have an account and that should have been cached in a way, uh, then it will automatically log you in, and then it will give you a pop-up on your browser which basically says yeah, which should basically say that, hey, you are logged in, open Redis Insight. Once you open Redis Insight, you will see the same database that you have created on the cloud. Okay, so with that, I think this is the perfect auth error. Did you log in with, what was it, Google? Yeah, so did you sign up with Google? I wonder where can I log out from. So if you signed up with Google, not this, not this, nope, not this, not this, nope, not this. If it still gives you auth error, I would say just quit it and re-log in. I think that should help. There's a notification center. This is help center. I really need to find how do you log out. Uh, so yeah, but you should get a very similar pop-up like this, which says get your free cloud instance, and you click on this acknowledge sign up, and then you click on sign up with Google. It should take you here. It should give you this option. Okay, this pop-up. Yes, thank God I'm getting it. You click on open Redis Insight v2, and that should bring you back here. It will say processing and blah blah blah. You don't have to do any of that. Hey, I have a doubt. Is the price for different countries and time zone? I think that was only for Streamlit. I am not. I don't think it was for Redis. Okay. So once you have done that, you can click on the option. Like I remember there was basically an option to first select something. Then you had an option of go inside that particular database. Then you had to click on that checkbox again, then go inside. But finally, once you have done all of those steps, you will reach here. Okay. Now, once you reach here, I'm talking about first, second, and third price. I am not sure. So if I understand it right, you're asking if the price is different for like the first, second, third price is different for different regions. I don't think so. I don't think so that is the case. The only case of different price was for Streamlit, depending on the region that you are in. Okay, so moving on. So once you have all done that, and once you have Redis Insight and you have an account on Redis, let's go and create something fun, something exciting. The exciting part is going to be first a backend. Okay, we need a backend for any front end to run. So please search for Node.js. Okay, uh, select the template, click on the use template option, and you can give it any name. So I'm going to give it a name, Redis Node.js server by Beauty. Okay, and that's the same thing. I'm going to put it in description, and you click on use template option. So once you click on use template option, it is going to open your Node.js template. And now from here on, we are going to write some code. Okay. Now there are multiple things that could be written, and okay, multiple things that we could write definitely, but we are going to start small. We are going to start easy. Okay. So step one is to actually install Express. Okay. So let's do some coding here. So in index.js, you say const express equals to require express. This first line, it basically says that we want to import express. There are multiple ways to do an import say statement. There is like you can basically convert something to ES module, and there's one other term which I am not remembering right now. Uh, there is native ES module, and there is what else? Could someone quickly Google and see what's the other other term? Meanwhile, let's move ahead. So const express equals to require express. This is the line where we say that we want to import the express library. Uh, Line number two is we are basically taking all the functions that are provided by the Express library and putting it in the app variable. Why are we doing it? Kind of, let's say, a convention. Okay. People like, or people have already done that so many times. It has kind of become a standard, if you understand what I mean. Next line is we are going to go app.listen. Okay. And we are going to specify a port. The port would be 3000. And this does not take anything. It basically does a callback, and it says that on the console, please log app listening on port 3000. Now, it did forget one thing. to give a disclaimer initially. The disclaimer was that while doing this project, I am making a fair assumption that you have some idea of what is a server, what is front end, a basic idea of how Express works. Even if it doesn't, I'm going to explain it line by line, but I'm not going to delve too much deep into it. Okay. I'm so sorry about that, but I just want to finish it quickly so that you can go back to hacking and you can go back to using Redis in your own personal project. Okay. So I think this should be enough. Now, I am going to make a few more changes. On the left hand side, you should see something called package.json. And here in package.json, inside the scripts, okay, inside the scripts, basically under line 6, we are going to add a start command. And the start command will basically say nodemon dot slash index dot js. What is nodemon? I can quickly Google it and show you. So nodemon is, you can say, a library where it restarts your app anytime it crashes. So let's say I write a code which is not perfect and it breaks the app. Normally, what would happen is everything will shut down. But with nodemon, it will get restarted again. So I'm going to copy this line which says npm install, or let's basically copy this big bold line on the top because we are not trying to make it perfect. We are just trying to get it up and running. And go to the shell. And the shell, if you don't have access to shell, you can click on the tools option and search for shell here. It's right here at the bottom and you can open it. So go to shell and paste this npm I nodemon. I means install. So npm install nodemon, and we'll also install express. So space express. Why are we doing this? Because we are, of course, using express. That's number one. We are also you going to use nodemon, which we have written here. So for those two reasons, I am going to install these two things. So let it install. Meanwhile, I am going to wait for this to finish. We also have two dependencies which have come previously installed. Types node 18.0.6 and X. Okay, we have now Express and nodemon installed. Perfect. That's what we wanted to happen. Now, next step is how do we run this app? Remember the script that we wrote? There is a start script. So we are just going to do npm run start. What will happen? So ideally, it is going to start the app on port 3000. Perfect. Okay. So the app is listening on port 3000 and it will open this web view. You can click on this open in new tab option and it will say cannot get. Okay. Well, why can't it get anything? Because we have not written any route. So let's write a first route. So the first route we are going to say it is app dot get slash, and this takes in a request and sends back a response, and we will say rest dot send up and running. Okay. I think this should be good enough. So as you can see on the right hand side, bottom right hand side, it keeps on restarting. Okay, it keeps on restarting the whole app. And now if I go here and just refresh, it will now show up and running, question mark, exclamation mark. And on the rec, the req, that is request, it says that the value is declared, but is not being used. So we can just add an underscore saying that, oh, create this variable, but don't use it. That's what the underscore means. Now there's a question here. Could you please show me your package JSON again? Yes, please. So this is what we have in package JSON. Let me see if I can actually put it in the chat. I don't know if Twitch would take this big of a text. It did. I think so. I think it will go broken on YouTube, but on Twitch it should be perfect. But yeah, these are the things that we have. We added this particular line here which says start, and we also did the npm install command. So I can also paste that npm I nodemon express. So just run these two things, npm I nodemon space npm space I space. Yeah, you get the idea. Just paste this in the shell and hit enter. It will install express and it will install nodemon. Add that in the start command and you're good to go. And this is what we have till now. Okay, so this is good. This is actually perfect. Okay, we have successfully added a route and we are able to see the response. Now let's connect to our Redis database. So to connect to it, I am first going to refresh. Hopefully I am not logged out. Okay, I am not. That is nice. On the main page, like click on, sorry, click on databases, and on the main page in under the endpoint column, you will have a connect button, and it will say, do you want to connect to, like there should be three things here: Redis CLI, Redis client, and Redis Insight desktop. That is recommended, and we already see how cool it is, as you can see here. But we are going to connect to Redis client. The client I am selecting as Node.js because that's what I have. The first line says import create client from Redis, but we are not using import statements, right? Yeah, so there's common.js and there's ES module. Thank you, Replit. So we are using common.js format. So we cannot use import statement. So we are going to go const create client, or actually let me show how do you change this. So take copy the first line, okay, and paste it right here. Now instead of import it would become const, and instead of from it would become equals to, and wrap this Redis in a require. Yes, so that should be good. So const create client equals to require Redis. Now on the right hand side, you will say that it keeps on throwing an error which says cannot find module Redis, which is true because we have not installed it. So let's go back to the console, and it will say on the bottom you will see a option to open Redis, node Redis client in new tab. And here it is, here's the command to install it. So I'm also going to paste it in chat. Very simple. It basically says npm install Redis. So how do we install? We install it in shell. So whatever we have, we can do control C. Just do control C twice or thrice. It should shut your current node mon. Paste this command npm install Redis, and that should install Redis. Let's wait for it to happen. Okay, perfect. It is installed for me. Now, what do? We do npm run start. Let it start. I think it takes time. Let's go back to our Redis cloud. Wait, it logged me out. Yep, this is what happens sometimes. Uh, Okay, I'm logged in. Let's go to databases. Let's click on connect and Redis client. And now here you will find a snippet of code. This is how you connect to your database. The password, it says star star. You can click on this eye icon to show your password. I am not going to, for obvious reasons, but I'm going to show, like, I'm going to basically remove myself from stream, add all this, but where will I add it? How will I add it? Let me show you that. Okay, so please stop anything and everything that you're doing right now and listen to me carefully. So go on the tools option, and Replit has a new thing which is called secrets. So once you click on secrets, it will open something. It will open a dialog box, and here you can add a new secret. So you can call it anything. It's like a key value pair. So I am going to call Redis underscore host, and the value I'm going to say ABC for now. You can click on add secret. Then you can actually create a new secret and Redis underscore password. And again, so what will you do? What will you do here? So in the host option in Redis underscore host, you will copy the host, which is given here. And in the copy and paste it there, of course. And in Redis underscore password, you will paste the password, which you can see by first clicking on this eye icon. It will show you the password. Copy the password, come back on Replit, paste it here, and click on add secret. Got it? I don't think it's difficult. The key, you can name it whatever you want, but if you want to follow along, since I'm going to keep referring to this uh, key, I'll call it Redis host, Redis password, whatever. So if you want to follow along and you don't want to get confused, give it the same name. Now I'm going to keep like bring myself out of the stream, and I'm going to add the host and the password just so that it remains a secret. Okay, so let me mute myself, and meanwhile, please do it. And I'm back. So there's a question, add it as a string. No, you don't need to add it as a string, which basically means that you don't need to add an inverted comma. Now, since I have already added it, I will show you the host one because it does not show the full name. So see, as you can see, I've just pasted what was inside the inverted commas, okay, and not the inverted comma itself. Same with the password. So for both the host and the password, you don't have to copy the single inverted or double inverted comma. Basically, don't convert it to a string. It will already be a string, and just paste whatever was inside that. I basically remembered that I actually forgot to close the password. So I'm going to put myself out of stream again and bring it again. Okay, that's good. Perfect. So uh, there's the password and there's the host. Everything that's inside the single inverted commas, that's what you need, not the inverted commas itself. Uh, Perfect. So now let's move on to the next bit, which is connecting to it, right? So it automatic, like it is giving us this whole snippet of code. So I'm going to actually copy that because I'm lazy. And we are going to go over to our replet option and we are going to paste, yes. And I'm going to remove this value here. And I'm also going to remove this value here. Now we are going to create two new variables. Let's call it const redis password, which is nothing but process dot env dot redis underscore password. So this whole thing is coming from this, okay, this secrets here, redis password. And similarly, I'm going to add const redis host equals to process dot env dot redis underscore host. So we got the Redis host and we got the Redis password. Now I'm going to take this value, paste it directly here. I'm going to take this particular value, which is host, and paste it here. So that ways, now the host and the password are coming from secrets and user will not be able to see them, and everything is nice and quiet. So we have successfully connected to the client. But are we sure? What can we do to actually see that the connection is complete? So I have something for that as well. Of course, I have something for that. So remember this first route that we created? So I'm going to keep it right here. This first route, let's first like how does Redis tell us to connect? Uh, if you go to node Redis, here, as you can say, it says that you have to await the create client. You can do on error, and then if it is not an error, you can do dot connect. Like there are so many things written here, but since I was kind of uh, navigating around, I have a way of how you can connect to it without all the fuss. So we have a variable which was created here, which was called client, right? So here inside the app.get, we are going to say step one, we first check for errors. Okay. So we can add a comment saying check for error. Now client dot on, and we'll say on error. If there is an error, then we do a callback and say that take this value error and just do a console dot log and say redis client error and comma err. So this basically is saying that you take this value and if there is an error, console log it. Okay, as simple as that. Perfect. Now, what if there is not an error? Like we want to connect to the client, right? So to connect to it, it is an async function. What it means is it will take some time to go over the network, connect to the client, and come back. So you have to wait for that connection to happen. You say await client dot connect. So you are waiting for that connection to happen, but it will fail. Okay, why? Because we are using await without making this whole thing async. We are, so async means this is an asynchronous thing, which means it can happen at any time in the whole process, and you have to wait for something to happen or wait for something to finish. So that is what this async and await mean. So now we are waiting for the connection to happen. Once the connection has happened, what's the next step that we could do? So they only give us the whole thing. It says that await client dot set, and then there's this, and then there's this. So these are three things that we can actually copy, and I'm going to do exactly that. and I'm going to paste it just below the connect. And I'm also going to paste it in the chat for you to copy it. Just copy those 3 lines and paste it. Also, let me just add some spacing here. Okay, perfect. So we have connected to the client. We are setting some key value. We are waiting for that key to return, and we are then disconnecting from the client, and then we are sending up and running. Something like that, right? So let's go to our, and as you can see on the right hand side, NodeMon is still up and running. So let's go here and just refresh this page, and pray that something doesn't break. And something did break. It says connection refused, connection refused, connection refused. So many connection refused. So what I'm going to do is just do a control C here. Okay, let it rest. And I'm going to click on this, like write a code which says clear, to clear everything from this page. What else am I going to do now? We should not disconnect from the client before we have sent the response. So I'm going to put the disconnect out after the response has been sent. So that's one change that I'm going to do. Also, this key, I'm going to call it this is my key, and the value will be hey there, MLH transport hacks. This is the key, this is the value, and here we are saying that get the key is my key, and I'm also going to paste this value. So what I'm going to, like, I'm doing a lot of things, but I will show it, like, kind of tell you what I'm going to do. And I'm going to paste this value, and just to add some spacing, I think, yeah, this looks good. So let's try this. So what have I done? So I'm connecting to the client. That's the first line. Then I'm going to set. And when I say set, set is basically going to take a key value pair. The key is called this is my key. The value is hey there, MLH transport hacks. And now here on line number 23, we are saying that I'm waiting for the client to get the value of this particular key. Once that comes, it is stored in this value variable. And here I'm in the response, I'm sending something, and I'm also pasting the value, like adding the value in the response. And here I am disconnecting. I think that is it. Now let me run npm run start. Let's see or hope it works. Okay, NodeMon has started. App is listening on port 3000, which is good. Okay, let's go back here and reload. And let's just wait. Oops, I got connection refused once again, which is not good. Why do I keep getting that? Hmm. But let's see. Let's see what is Redis Insight giving me. Okay, I got it. I don't know why NodeMon keeps saying that I don't have access, or it keeps telling me that connection refused. But actually, I got the key and there is the value. So I can actually do one more thing. Let me try and change this value. Let me remove the hey there, MLH transport hacks Redis cloud, right? So that's what I'm doing. Let me go here, reload this, and let me, I think that should have done. And wait, app crash. socket already opened. I know, and that's why I'm disconnecting to it. Can you show the import statements? Yes, there are only two of them. Okay, so I have changed the route. Okay, so at least this is not breaking. And now if I go to slash check, that broke again. This is very weird. And trust me, this should not happen in general. So what I'm going to do is just kill this, clear this, reload it. Okay. And meanwhile, let me see. Hopefully I don't have anything else up and running. I don't think so. Yep. I'm waiting for it to run and it's running, it's starting. App is listening and it does work here. It says cannot get, which is what we want. And if I go to slash check, whew, finally, all it needed was a refresh, it seems. And as you can see, now we have the value coming back, which is MLH transport hacks Redis cloud. And if I go back here, refresh, yeah, there's a refresh here on the value itself. We get the key and we get the value, which is what we wanted. Okay, not that difficult. Just like make sure you refresh Replit once or twice because that seems to cause some issues. And yep, that is, I mean, the whole thing was simple. It's just like connecting to it was being difficult. But we have successfully connected to Redis cloud. We have successfully sent a value. We have successfully received a value. I think that is good. Now, I am going to add a new file here. We will call it routes.js. Okay, so to add a new file, you can click on this new file option, add the routes.js. And inside this, and even here, so how much time do I have left? I have approximately half an hour left. And it feels like I won't be able to complete everything that I wanted to show you. So I'm going to do a bit of cheating here. I'm going to quickly paste stuff. Okay, so first let me just put this whole code in a better format and bring it back here, paste it here. So nothing changes in the code, just the formatting changes. Why am I doing this? Just makes the code look clean. Okay, so, and let me show you, it still works. It should still work. Yep, it does work. And MLH transport hacks. Let me just change the key and sorry, the value, the key remains the same. Okay, it was still loading. Yep, there is the key and the value should also change. Perfect. So it does change, everything works, which is great. Now, what am I going to do? So since, as I said, that I was already kind of practicing what can we do with this, I found so many good things that can be done. So I am also going to install one more thing, which is going to be course. So npm I course. What is course? So when you want to connect from a different domain to a different domain, there is a course issue. Uh, basically, your browser says that you are not allowed to unless the server specifically gives you permission to connect to itself. And here we are the server, so we are giving explicit permission to connect to this particular server. So I have installed course and now we are going to import it. Okay, so there's a question, my code can't read the secrets for some reason. So did you write this exact thing like process.env dot whatever is the name of your secret? That's the first step. Okay. They do give you a code here, so you can use this. Like just copy this, paste it here, and just change the name of the variable. So you can select which particular thing you want and try that. Oh, perfect. That's good. Uh, okay, let me close that. So now let's use course. So we'll say const course. The full form of course is cross origin resource sharing, I think. Yep. Require course. Okay. And we are also going to import things from our routes.js. There's nothing yet there, but we will add stuff. So const routes equals to require dot slash routes. So when I do a dot slash, it basically means that in the current directory, open this particular file. So we got two things. Whenever there is no dot slash mentioned, it means it's a library. If there is a dot slash mentioned, it means it's coming from a different file. Okay. Once we have all of this, let's add some more stuff. So we are using const app equals to express. We'll also do app dot use express dot json. So this is called as a middleware, and this middleware is going to help us parse JSON requests. So if you're making a UI and the UI sends the data in JSON format, which is JavaScript object notation format, this middleware, this line number 7 thing, is going to help us parse that. And since we are going to make a front end would be on a different URL. We want it to be able to connect to our this backend, and there will be an error. So to solve that error, we are going to add course. So these are few things that I have added. Now let me wait and see. Hopefully everyone has added these three things. Okay, and what's the next step? So the next step is going to go to routes.js file. Now in routes.js file, this is where we are going to add all the routes. So I'm going to tell that this is routes.js file. And here we are going to do module.exports. Okay. And it's going to take a bunch of stuff which we'll add. I'll show you how and where. But the first and foremost is app.get. Connect to the home page, the home route. Don't take any request, but send a response, a callback here. And that would be res.send a string which will say app running. Now connect to client, something like that. I mean, it's not hard and fast. And we are also going to add one more thing, which is okay, let's add another route, app dot post. So there are two types of requests you can think. A get request is to get a resource or go to a particular route and get things. A post request is when you send some data. So we are going to create a post request and the data would be in the body. Okay, that's what a post request does. So let's call it uh what will be our post request. We are going to keep it simple. Create user. Okay, let's call a yeah, create user. And this is going to be async because we are going to go over to Redis, add some data and do some stuff. So what is happening? Just follow along and you will see what is happening. So what is this going to do? So in the body of this post request, we are going to send a username, which is going to be request dot, which is going to be in the request dot body. So this is the first step. And now let me hit enter a bunch of times. And what's the next step? If the user is not providing username, so if no username, then res dot status 400 and dot json, which will say error. So if a user does not give us a username, we'll send a error saying username is required. If it is not making sense, don't worry, it will in a step two is to do a try catch. So try and catch. Or actually, instead of a catch, okay, let's have a catch. Yeah, let's have a catch. Now, inside this try, what are we going to say? So step one is we have to first connect to Redis, right? So we can, how do we connect to Redis? We have a line for that. We do await client dot connect. So I'm going to copy that line, go over to this inside the try block. I'm going to paste that. I'm going to say first wait to connect to the client. That's the first step. Now we are going to say await const const all users. So this is a variable and it is going to wait for the client to get me this particular key, which is called as all users. So step one, it's going to first get this key. Now once that key comes, or basically if this variable has a value, so if all users, then we say let's also create an array of users. So let users array equals to, initially it's empty, so we say if all users, so users array dot or equals to, let's say json dot parse all users. Okay, I think this should be good. Now we will say that if a username is already taken, so let's check, is user name taken equals to users array dot sum. Dot sum, it will take a user and it will check that user dot username equals to the username that comes from here. If this is true, yep, if this is true, like if is username taken, yep, if a username has already been taken, then we are going to send a error. So rest.status 400.json and we'll say error. Username is already taken. And then we will, of course, return from here. Okay, so what have I done till now? Uh, Actually, let me format it in a better format and then we can talk about it. It looks like lots of things, but trust me, it isn't. What we are saying that, we want to send a post request to create user. Uh, when someone sends this post request, they should provide a username in the body. If someone is not providing a username, send them an error saying that username is required. Next thing, we want to keep the usernames unique. So now we go into the try block and we'll say, first, let's connect to the client, the Redis client. And then we are going to create a key, which is called as all users. So when I say a key, the way we have, this is my key, we'll have another key coming here, which will be called as all users. And that would be an array of JSONs, okay, array of objects, you can say in a way. And we'll say that get all users. We have also created a variable here. Now if a variable, empty variable kind of empty array. Now if all users are present, if this key is present, then first convert it, okay, parse it from a string format to a JSON format. And next we are creating a variable called as is username taken, where we are going over that array and checking if the username that is given by the user who is using this app is already in our database. If it is already in the database, then we are saying that username is already taken. Okay, so that's what we have done till now. So I think, yep, that should be good. Now let's create a new user. What if the username is not taken? So const new user equals to, we'll have username, which is coming from there. And we'll also add a created at, which is nothing but a new date dot to ISO string. Okay, so we'll also add a created at. When was this user created? Once this creation has been done, remember our array, the users array, we will push this new variable in that. So users array dot push new user, this variable. So once that is done, now we are going to wait to set it. So we are going to wait and do a client dot set all users, and we are going to convert it back to a string. So JSON dot stringify users array. And finally, we are all not finally, then we are going to send a message. So res dot JSON, and that would have a message which will say user created successfully, and we'll also show the user new user. Okay, so who is the user that has been created, that we can show. And now inside the catch, okay, so we are going to catch, of course, some error, right? So error, and we will then send the status code like 500, and we'll say JSON and whatever is the error that we can show. So error is going to be this, let's call it ERR. So dot message. And once this whole thing has been done, now we can say finally, once everything has been done, disconnect from your client. So we are going to paste that particular line of code. Now let me just prettify this and then we will test it. Here is it. Yep. Here and paste it. Perfect. I think this is good. Now we just need to export something. Oh, we are already exporting it, right? Yeah, module.exports. And what should it take? It should take the app and it should take the client, because that's what we are using. We are saying app, client, client, client. Let's go here in index.js. And here we will say we have already imported routes, right? Now below this get, and we will say routes. It takes two things. It takes app and it takes client. App is coming from this const app equals to express, and this client is coming from this const create client. I think that should be good. Now, how do we test it? It's a post request. So we cannot go here and say create, what was it? Create user? Yeah. We cannot go on a new tab and do like create user, because it's not a get request. It's a post request. Also, our server is stopped. So npm run start. So we're also going to run start and we are going to get our server up and running. Once the server is up and running, so weird. Yeah, it cannot get create user because it's not a get request, it's a post request. So to do that, you could use actually Postman, or you could use something called as hopscotch.io. It's, you can think of it as an online Postman. Yeah. So I'm going to create a post request. What is the endpoint? The endpoint will be this thing where my app is up and running. So I'm going to paste that. Now in the body, we will say it is supposed to be a JSON where the format will be username, and we can call the user as MLH, let's say. You can prettify it from here, and let's just pray that it works. I do a send and it was successful. As you can see here, it says user created successfully. The user is has the username this and created at this time. Let's go to our cloud instance, reload this, and as you can see, there is the user. Now, if you don't see the format in JSON, there should be a way here where it is normally in Unicode. Click on it and choose JSON and you'll have it nicely formatted. I hope you enjoyed that aspect. Let's also check if you can recreate. Let's create another user. Let's call it UT. Let's do a send. User created successfully. Let's come back. Let's do a refresh here. And you also have to do a refresh here. And now we have two users created, which is awesome. Can we recreate MLH? So we wrote code that which said that, oh, please don't recreate MLH. So let's do that and see, it gives us an error, bad request, error. Username is already taken. So we have successfully written code to create a new user. We have also written code to ensure that username is unique. Okay. Now, do I have time? Yeah, I have time. I have 20 more minutes. So let's do one more thing. The next thing is going to be, so we have done a create user. Let's do another post request to create a tiny tail. Okay. I say a tiny tail. What it means is it means some small snippets. You can think of it as comments. Okay. It's as good as thinking of comments. So, how do I create a tiny tail? Kind of already understand. It would follow a very similar pattern of create user, but we'll also add one more condition. The condition is that if a user exists, then and only then they'll be able to create a tiny tail. If they don't exist, they will not be able to create a tiny tail. Okay, as simple as that. So only MLH and UT can now create a tiny tail. Anyone else cannot, like ABC, XYZ cannot create a tiny tail. So let's write code for that. Slash create tiny tails. Yeah. Again, it's going to be async. There would be a request, there would be a response, and everything goes inside here. So what goes here? So first, from the user, like from basically hopscotch, okay, what should hopscotch send? Here in the JSON, it should send us two things. One will be called as tiny tail, and it will also send us a created by. That is important. These are two things that comes from there, and that is going to come from the body. If any of this is missing, so if not tiny tail, or or you have to do a pipe symbol once I find it in my laptop. Yep. Or if there is no created by, then we basically say that rest dot status 400, and we'll send an error. Okay, a JSON in JSON format, an error which says tiny tail and created by required, and we can just do a return here. I should also have done a return. Like once it fails, you just return. You don't wait for anything else. Okay. So this is the if condition. Now, if someone has provided those two things, then we go to the try catch block, right? So let's go to the try catch block. So try step one. First, you have to connect to Redis, right? So to connect, we do a wait client dot connect. So let's wait for the client connection to happen. Once that connection has been done, let's can actually do this. Const all users is equal to get all users. Why? Because remember I said that only the users that exist in the database can create a tiny tail. So let's first get all the users. And if let's say there are no users, so let's first check that condition. So if not all users, so if this particular key does not exist, or if there are no users found, then we do a rest dot status 400 dot again a JSON error. Give me a second. I think someone. Okay, I thought one of you pinged me on Discord. Sorry. Okay, going back. So rest dot status 400 and JSON which says error. What is the error? Users doesn't exist. Yeah, that should be good enough error. You can make it more comprehensive, of course, and return. So if this is not found, return. Now, let's create const users array, right? So users array will basically first parse from the string to a JSON format all users, right? And now we will first check that if the created by, which is basically a user name, does it exist in the users array? So we'll check user exists equals to users array dot sum user, such that user dot username it matches the created by. Okay, this is important. Why? Because if this user does not exist, so if not user exists, again we are going to send a response. So res dot status of 400 dot json, which will have an error which will say this user does not exist. Users, we can say users key does not exist. Doesn't, DOES, yeah. And here this particular user does not exist. And again, we can do a return here. Okay, so there is a try. We just need a catch here, empty catch for now, so that it does not give me that error. Now I'm going to take this, go over to Prettier and format it just so that it's nicely formatted. Yep. And I'm going to just close this one. Okay, perfect. So if the user does not exist, then we again give out an error kind of. Now, if let's say everything passes, the user exists in the database and the from hopscotch we have received the tiny tail and the created by properly. If everything is nice and fine, now we do a new tiny tail object, right? Which we did previously. We did that for user. We'll follow the same thing for tiny tail. So const new tiny tail equals to, it will first take tiny tail, which is coming from hopscotch. It will also take the created by, which is again coming from hopscotch, and it will also add created at, which we add because we like to. Dot to ISO string. I think, yep, this should be good enough. So we have created a new tiny tail. It will have the tiny tail that the user sent, the created by, and the created at. Three things. Once that comes, now we will do a const all tiny tails, a variable that we are creating, where we are going to wait for the client to send us this all tiny tails key. Okay. So if it does not exist, it will automatically get created. Now let's create an array. So let tiny tails array equals to, initially it's empty, of course. Now if this all tiny tails comes back, okay, if this all tiny tails comes back, we will first do a tiny tails array will now change to JSON dot parse. Since it's going to be stringified, we will convert it to a JSON format, all tiny tails. If this comes back, we do this. And then the next step would be to push to this array. So tiny tails array dot push. What are we going to push? The new tiny tail. New tiny tail. Yep. Once you have pushed it, wait for it to be sent over to Redis. So we do a await client dot set all tiny tails. This is the key, and the value is going to be JSON dot stringify tiny tails array. Okay. Once this is done, Now we will say rest.json. We'll have a message which will say tiny tail created successfully, right? And we'll also show that. So we'll have a variable tiny tail which will show the new tiny tail. Perfect. And once even this is done, now all we have to do is catch some error, right? So catch err, and we'll say rest dot status. I mean, something else that happens in between, which we are not aware of right now, or something that we have not handled. We'll say that, oh, it goes into error and dot message. And finally, once everything is done, we close the connection. I'm going to just copy this and come here and paste it. I think that should be good. Let me just prettify it a bit. Only the last part of it should have changed. Yep, I think this is good. Perfect. So now let's go over to hopscotch. And how do I create a new one? Interesting. There's a collection. There's a save. Is there not a new one? New request? Hmm. Hmm. Okay. For the time being, I am going to quickly create a collection. Check. Call it save. And now inside the check, I'm going to say create tiny tail. Save it. Yep, there's a post. Okay. I will create a new one. Create tiny tail 2 something. Meh. So there's a create user. Will save, and that goes into this one. I don't know what's happening here. Basically, I'm trying to create some stuff. So there's a create user. There's another one. Now this is going to be a create. Was it create tiny tails? Was it? Yeah. And if I provide it username, if I provide create tiny tails a username, it will say 404 not found. Okay. This whole thing is not found. Wait, why is it not found? Is it because, okay, let's check. Uh, this is create user. Okay, so let's see if create user works. Okay, username is already taken, and ABC, let's create a new user. Okay, that is perfectly working. Now let's go to create tiny tail. And what does tiny tail take in? It takes tiny tail. This is my message. It takes a created by, right? So created by, and we'll say that it has been created by MLH. So let's see if this works. I send. Interesting. It says it cannot post to it. Why can't it post? Have check. We have routes. Create tiny tails. Tiny tail and created by. And it's post request. And this is a post request. Interesting. Does anyone see the error? It basically says that it cannot post to this particular endpoint, but I think the endpoint is correct, right? Create tiny tails. Well, that is completely interesting. I have all users. I kind of have everything that is needed, but it's still not able to post to that. That is probably my issue rather than Redis issue. Create tiny tails. I hope the spelling and everything is proper. We are exporting everything for sure. Interesting. I am not sure why is it saying that I cannot access that particular endpoint, even though I can see the particular endpoint and I have created the particular endpoint for sure. It exists. It's taking request. It's sending response. Everything that is supposed to be there. Wait. If there is a color difference, why is it? Let me cut it and let me paste it again. Because if there's a color difference, I am sure that is what is causing it. Did I not close a bracket somewhere? What happened? Hmm, it's probably that I did not close something, but I am not sure what I didn't close. Finally, and there's a catch, and there's a try, and this is closing here, and this is closing here. Perfect. Now, what about this one? So there's a finally, there's a catch, there is a try. So try, catch, and finally. And this is closing here, this is closing here. So then that is not the problem. Interesting. So something is broken and can't seem to figure out what and why, because should have a reload, I think. Wow, once again. So tiny tail created successfully. And if I try to create it by, let's say, XYZ, that should give me an error. This user does not exist. But if I try to create it by UT, it does. Okay, so again, it was a reload issue, but we have successfully created tiny tails. We have successfully created a user. What if you want to get everything? Get all the tiny tails. Can you do that? Let's quickly write something. And this time I am going to definitely refresh. So this is here, this is here. Let's do app.get. and app.get will say slash get all tiny tails. Okay, now we just have to do a get all. So there's no need for the body or anything. So let's do like async request comma response. Okay, perfect. So we do a request response, and since there's no body, we can directly jump right into the try catch. So try, step one to try is to connect to the client, right? It's now become a norm. We now understand what is happening. Second step would be to get this particular key, which is const all tiny tails, would be await client dot get the all tiny tails. So all tiny tails is the name of our key. So if I go back here, refresh this particular key, this is what we want. So and we are storing it in the all tiny tails, right? And what else? Now we can add a condition. So if not all tiny tails, so if it does not exist, if there's no value here, we can just say res.json empty array. So it's empty and we'll do a return. That's it. But if it does exist, if the value to this exists properly, so we can say const tiny tails array equals to json dot parse all tiny tails. Okay, so we convert it from string to JSON and then just do a res.json. Res.json means sending it to the user. What are we going to send to the user? This particular variable, right? Perfect. And since we have done a try, we'll also do a catch for some error. Res.status 500 dot json error would be error dot message. And finally we will do a await, what was it, client dot disconnect. Yep, await client dot disconnect. I think that should be it. So there's a try, there's a catch, and there's a finally. Let me just take it over to Prettier, paste it, get it from there, paste it right here. So there is a get request to get all tiny tails. So let's go over to hopscotch. Let's create a new request. It's going to be a get request and get all tiny tails. There's not going to be anything in the body. So we can just change it to none. Send the request and we get everything back. So this is one way you could, and just save it. So there's a get request, there are two post requests, and this is just a duplicate. And we have successfully done a create user. We wrote logic for how to check for duplicate user. So we have unique usernames. We did a create tiny tail where we ensured that the user should exist. Okay, and then and only then they are allowed to create a tiny tail. We also did a get request to get all the tiny tails. You could do so much. You could do add a password. Okay, you could add like add a UI, which I did already add. I showed it to you to at the start of this whole session, but we did not have much time to build it. But you can. I used Daisy UI and I used Axios and of course React.js. Okay, I use these three things to build the UI. So you could have one field. Let me see if it still works. Uh, yeah, you could have one field where you are basically getting the creating the users, one field where you are creating the tiny tails, and one field where you are getting all the tiny tails. So I can actually show it to you quickly, and you could get this. Okay, you can have completely this format. So you can build a UI which will connect to your server, and your server is already connecting to the database. It's a win-win. So feel free to build on this. If you don't have a project idea, I think I gave you a project idea definitely here. Just extend it beyond to what it exists right now. And happy hacking. Any questions, anyone, before I end the stream? I hope you enjoyed this. You enjoyed connecting to Redis. Okay, definitely the free limit and also the uh, MLH coupon code that would give you more storage. Currently, I think the max is 30 MB, uh, out of which we are using like 2.28 MB or something. Like that's the memory that I'm using and something. But you could add more to it. Okay. Create tiny tail. Oh, I don't know. I think it's just a refresh because I literally have the same exact thing. And I just did a refresh and that worked. Somehow it worked. So create tiny tails. This is what is in the body. It just worked randomly. So maybe just stop and restart your server maybe once or twice, and that should work. That's what worked for me. This is my message 234. Let's say I do a create and tiny tail created successfully. So if I go, yeah, save that, go to get all tiny tails. So now I should have three things here. Yeah, this is my message 234. So it works. I don't know why. I think it's mostly because of Replit. Okay, so all the best, Anurag, there. I am sure you'll be able to figure it out. But to everyone else, if there's no question, I think it's the perfect time to end the stream. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. I hope to see some of you definitely use Redis Cloud in your hackathon project. Thanks all. See ya. If there's no question, bye bye.